2004. The same year that gave us Halo 2 gave us the anime series called Grenadier. So what exactly is Grenadier? Well, I'm glad you asked. Our plot begins with a mercenary named Yajiro attempting to rescue a political figure from a fortress held by bandits. Unfortunately, he and his group are heavily outgunned. Literally. You see, in this series, the technology is a little anachronistic, to say the least. Yajiro and his cohorts are armed exclusively with swords, while their opposition has rifles that appear similar to those of only a handful of decades ago. As in our world, firearms had to evolve from the primitive single-shot weapons to lever-action repeaters, to eventually the weapons of modern times. So, needless to say, Yajiro and his crew have no chance against these odds.
Nothing but your bloody knives and your fancy karate gimmicks. We have guns.
But he meets a woman nearby, Rusha Tento, who claims that she will help rescue the hostage.
A woman.
Yajiro protests, saying that she's just one woman, but she soon demonstrates inhuman skill with her revolver, and in so doing, accomplishes the mission. Rusha, however, tries to be as much of a pacifist as she can be, as all of her insane levels of accuracy are tuned to either dismantling an enemy's weapon, or delivering wounds that will incapacitate but not kill. She is our protagonist, and she hopes to eventually bring peace to the region by removing people's desire to fight entirely. She calls this the ultimate battle strategy. An admirable goal, to be sure, but entirely unrealistic. It only takes one party to start a fight. So long as one person wants to start something, then something there will be. But we're not here for realism, are we? We're here for extravagance, ridiculousness, fun. Rusha herself expresses disappointment in herself for fighting at all, claiming that in doing so she has failed, despite inflicting no death. She inherited this philosophy of hers from her mentor, Tenchi. Strangely though, as she journeys with Yajiro, she discovers that Tenchi herself has placed a bounty on Rusha's head for an unknown reason. Why could this be? It certainly isn't in character for her. Thus, our two characters decide to make their way to the city of Tento to confront Tenchi about this. But along the way, they must face off against many opponents sent by Tenchi, in a sort of monster of the week type deal. All of them provide a unique challenge, and it's entertaining to see Rusha overcome them. But having a look at our characters, Rusha can be a bit of an airhead, but she isn't stupid. When she decides to apply herself, she can actually come up with some rather creative solutions to her problems. Now, are some of these physically possible? No. But are they fun? Yes. She, more often than not, is simply looking forward to her next bath or meal, and sometimes takes a bit too long to completely comprehend what's happening, which may or may not be your particular cup of tea. Still, when things kick off, she quickly shows just how competent she can be.
Show us some kind of identification!
Some what? I don't have anything like that.
Some stinks here.
I just washed this morning.
Aizen, I am under direct orders. I have come to take your life, Rusha.
Wow, Teppa, how exciting! You actually became a Jutensen! I see. Men need all that tough armor wrapped around their hearts to keep themselves strong enough to survive. Don't worry, Ya-chan. I'll help you get rid of all of your armor someday, too.
Now, I would be remiss if I failed to mention the fact that this series does contain fan service. If you are averse to such a thing, you have been warned. Inside of me are two wolves. locked in combat. One is lighthearted and innocent. He responds to this matter with laughter. The sheer absurdity is hilarious. The other wolf is devious. He responds with The wolf that wins is the one that's fed, as they say. So you may ask, well then, which wolf wins? About that, you must understand, I'm the Dual-Wielder. Emphasis on dual. I am perfectly at home with tearing that steak in half, feeding both wolves, snorting a line of Cheeto dust, and seeing where this takes me. Yajiro is largely relegated to a supporting role in the cast, as Rusha undertakes most of the action herself. As mentioned before, he does not wield a firearm, despite being at a massive disadvantage for not doing so. He claims that by wielding a melee weapon, he can feel the weight of taking a life, as a blade needs to penetrate muscle and bone through the wielder's own power. With a gun, there is no such sensation, and as such, he believes that one may be inclined to take life without cause. It's certainly an interesting philosophy, but when your opponent can attack you, but you can't do the same as you have no ranged capabilities, then that is game over for you, good sir.
Not a great plan.
Don't get me wrong, I do love melee weapons more than firearms. Nothing against them, I just have a preference for pre-firearm weapons, but there's a reason that guns replaced spears in warfare. He earned the moniker Tiger of the Rearguard for his skill, though we don't often see him display much, as the action is by and large focused on Rusha. Yajiro does get a few moments to shine though. It's just a bit of a letdown that he gets shunted off to the side for the majority of the show.
Cannon shot. I'll split him in half!
You won't have to keep working so hard. We'll take care of your friend, so just relax.
Thank you, but I have no intention of letting you help us for free. I'll pay you back for all the trouble you've gone to by working. That's how I...
But now that they know there's a price on our head, we won't be able to stay here for much longer. Better eat up while I can.
Around halfway through the show, the pair meet a young girl by the name of Meon, whose family was killed by bandits. She's initially dead set on getting revenge against the leader of said bandits, and Rusha must convince her not to pursue vengeance. I mean, I'd say go for it. He killed your family and how many others? Do it and stop him from doing it again in the future. But the show likes to reform these characters rather than killing them, and so afterwards Meon joins Rusha and Yajiro. Her skill is... making balloons. Yeah, that's a bit out there, isn't it? These are largely whatever the plot needs them to be, from gliders to bulletproof cover. If I'm being honest, Meon was more annoying than anything else for me personally. She largely falls off at the end of the show, contributing very little in the finale. The group follow the route Yajiro traveled to Tento during a failed takeover that their force had of the city years ago, having lost most of their number along the way. Though they are accosted by a mysterious figure known as the Jester, who seems to know quite a bit about them. It's largely because of him that the Jutensen, the elite of Tento, know where Rusha is at all times and are able to find her, even when their group take less traveled and dangerous paths. More than that, he also supplies their enemies with strange parasitic weapons that are decidedly different from firearms, being magical in nature. He also has some connection to Tenchi herself, which goes directly against what Rusha describes of the woman. She claims that Tenchi taught her pacifist ways. What could possibly have happened here? Well, you'll need to watch the show to find out. Now on to the scoring. In terms of objectivity, realism is not what this series strives for. Still, that alone isn't enough to knock points off of this metric. What really hurts the show is how little of the world building is explained. Things just sort of crop up as the plot demands. Characters sort of appear when and where the story needs them to be, rather than it making sense for them to be there. And their motivations also swing rather wildly in mere moments. Some cold-blooded killers will up and decide to change their ways in mere seconds. For this, I would give this a 5 in terms of objectivity. In terms of subjectivity, though, this was a remarkably fun series. It knows what it wants to be and runs with it. It is an extremely anime, because sometimes that's all you need. Some good, old-fashioned, dumb fun. Not everything needs to be a masterwork of storytelling. Those are obviously good and stand the test of time, but sometimes you just need to let loose and engage in something ludicrous just for the sake of it. So to that end, I would give this a 7 in subjectivity. I was entertained throughout and laughed heartily more than a few times. If you're looking to engage with something deep and grounded, then this isn't it. This is meant for some dumb fun. The voice acting for the mainstays isn't bad, but some of the one-offs can be rather sketchy. The show is obviously not perfect, and I find the pacifist philosophy poorly thought out, and people can only change their ways if they truly have a change of heart. That doesn't just happen out of nowhere like in this show, but I had a good time with this series. Perhaps you could as well. But what do you think of Grenadier? Have you seen it before, or is it too wild for what you're into? I have mixed thoughts on it, but it was enjoyable to go back through it again. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Leave a like on this video if you're so inclined, and subscribe to see more. I would like to thank you for watching, and may you all have a weapon in each hand.